The Late Morning Program with Namras Podcast.
Hare Krishna, everyone. You are listening to the Late Morning Program with Namras, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm here with a recurring guest, Yogi Nataraj Prabhu. Yogi Nataraj Prabhu, thank you for joining me.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for inviting Prabhu. It's been 2 years exactly, and we are back.
Yes. So for our listeners who are just joining us, we did an episode with Yogi Nataraj Prabhu, episode 20. If you want to go check out my YouTube page and Facebook page, that was in person. So that was quite a while ago. But I'd love to hear about Prabhu's evolution since then, regarding his own practice. We're going to talk about fasting later because I fasted with his, guidance, and also yoga and things like that. So Prabhu, what have you been up to since then?
Well, and thanks to you. I toured last February. I went to UK, and everyone knew me because of your podcast.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Everyone recognized me with your podcast. And
Yes.
I was promoting my book, Food for the Soul.
Right.
And I was explaining why devotees need to have a good diet. So it was a lot of traveling, astrology consultations, yoga. But what changed after all these travels was the lockdown. It gave me an opportunity to fast for a month. So I did, from our own book, I did a chia water fast, all these chia juices.
Right.
And
Chia
that
seeds, you
was,
put them in water, and it turns into kind of like this kind of jelly, detox lemonade. Right.
So last April was a very wonderful time, and I fasted for a month. It changed my body and mind completely. And I posted this on Facebook, and I started a fasting program called Chandrayana. So which starts on a full moon and ends on a full moon. So you gradually reduce your diet from full moon, reduce it by 1/15th, and you come to the new moon and you are zero. You're not eating anything. And from 1/15th, you gradually increase it by 1/15th from new moon to the full moon. Very interestingly, a lot of devotees joined this fast from last May. We just celebrated the anniversary with about 40 devotees. And we have had more than 350 devotees who have fasted, mostly devotees, and about, like 40 or 50 others from outside. But most of the devotees have reported complete change in their body, in the ability to sit down for a long time, control their hunger. And many of us are still connected. We practice yoga once in a while. And as I was doing that, my practice got deeper. And I wrote a book called Healing Mudras, because when I was doing this fasting program, what I realized was you cannot just fast, because fasting detoxes you, but you need to strengthen your body, mind, your organs so that they function better, so that when you come back to regular eating, you are a better person. So fasting allows you, just like you have to change the oil in a car, so you have to park the car.
Right.
So fasting is a way to give the body rest, but then you have to change, put fresh oil, get the car stronger, better, and then it'll run good. So similarly, fasting, it's not just the fasting that helps. So in the book, my favorite book, Yoga Rahasya, Nathamuni, who is the founder of Sri Vaishnavism, he writes this book, Yoga Rahasya. He calls practice of yoga as bhakti yoga, as he calls it, what do you call as regulated or Vaidhi bhakti, when done to please Narayana. And I found it very interesting. He says every practice of fasting and yoga should be started remembering Narayana in the heart. And that was my evolution. So then I found these mudras, they help you so much. A lot of devotees with the diabetes and others, those who joined the program, I gave them simple mudras along with the fasting, and it was so effective.
Mm.
And last 1.5 years, I've had many, like so many devotees who participated and learned the mudras, simple asanas with these simple changes. And one thing I would like to add here just struck me. One devotee called me. He had a severe pain, trigeminal allergia, from one of our East Coast temples, and he said, "Severe pain, Prabhu. I took some Ayurvedic medications. It went off, but it came back." So then I sat down and listed his diet. I said, reduce rice, reduce chapati. Then what will I eat? Uh, Paneer? He said, no, reduce paneer also. So then I gave him quinoa and salads and simple things. Within 10 days, he said, Prabhu, it's completely gone. So he realized that so most of our problems are due to digestion. So my evolution, so I studied this aspect even deeper, uh, and it gave me an opportunity with so many devotees participating to alter their diets, to see the changes. And with this, I have evolved a lot. And last 2 months, we have been building new website, and we are writing a new book, which is almost done. It is on millets and healthy diet along with exercise and a whole lifestyle. So this is what we have been doing, and so excited to share so many of those things.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to talk a little bit about my reason and my kind of interest, because I remember that you did do fasting. So my wife is away right now in England, so with the whole family. So I'm gonna have a little bit of free time, and well, a lot of free time. I mean, compared to previously, but I wanted to kind of see if I could prevent any diseases that I may have or any health issues that I may have in the future. So I thought, okay, let me reach out to Gaur Nataraj Prabhu and say, I'm interested in a fast. So you told me to fast for about 3 weeks, which was first week, all those chia lemonades, which is like all different kind of fruits also blended in. And there's different, the recipes in your book. And then the second week would be smoothies, and then the third week soups. So just to tell everyone, I only lasted a week. I only lasted the chia lemonade, distance, but it was incredibly difficult, but it was very eye-opening also, because one was that I realized how little food we actually need to live. I guess you can comment on each one that I'm going to say, but the first one is that how much little food that we need. We actually don't need a lot of food. We eat a lot out of boredom. And that actually causes diseases when you overeat or you eat things that you can't digest, right?
Exactly. That's the main point. What you said, that realization that we need so little to actually survive, and we overeat. Now, if you see Rupa Goswami, after my fast, I realized why Rupa Goswami said that atyahara. Now, this is not just in Rupa Goswami's book. I found the same verse in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhakti shadbir yoga vinashyati. So here we say shadbir bhakti vinashyati, right? So here he says shadbir yoga vinashyati. So what it does, now when you eat anything, it converts into glucose. It converts into glucose. And when you overeat, there is a high glucose. Now, if you understand this aspect, glucose, high sugar causes oxidation. It destroys the bodily organs, especially your brain. High glucose leads to shrinkage in the brain area, neurons. Now, when we eat, right? So, because everything converts to glucose, the body releases insulin. Now, if you understand this part, everything else will follow. So, the body releases insulin. Now, when you have eaten the right amount and your digestion is good, this insulin converts this glucose into, or pushes it into the blood cells into energy. Now, what happens is when you eat too much, there is too much glucose. Second, when you eat too frequently, every time you are spiking your glucose. Now, to balance this, body releases insulin, and actually, over a period of time, we end up having 4 to 5 times more insulin than we need. Now, those who have diabetes, it's not just high sugar, but their type 2 diabetes, they have more than 5 times the insulin they actually need. Now, insulin causes many problems, high insulin, and high sugar anyway decays the body. Now, what we are doing when we fast, because we eat so much in general in today's world, and that too high carbs, our glucose levels are high. Now, this was exposed actually in this whole COVID thing. Did you know that the number one cause they found of those who died, the COVID patients, lack of vitamin D. So lack of vitamin D or lack of usable vitamin D. So what happens is vitamin D is fat soluble. So when you eat too much, the body converts your excess glucose and stores it as fat. So your fat is actually hiding all the vitamins, including vitamin D. And those who are obese, all this vitamin gets stored and not used. So that's why you feel foggy, all these things.
Right.
Now, when this insulin becomes used properly, when the insulin starts converting this glucose well, that's when you actually begin to feel better. That's when your body actually heals, when the glucose levels are balanced, when the glucose levels are not low, but they are balanced. Now, what we do when we have fasting, what happens with fasting is there are 5 stages of benefits. Okay. First stage, once you eat something, there is a rise in glucose, right? So say you're fasting, so it's your last meal, okay? And you have a full meal. So what happens? 0 to 4 hours. So that is the feeding stage. So your body glucose levels are high, insulin is high. After 4 hours, okay, that's when your insulin sugar level reduces. Your liver actually stores enough glucose for 24 hours. Okay. Now, in the second stage, what happens is the body begins to feed off this glucose in your liver. So when you go, that is why they say keep 4 hours in between your meals. Because within 4 hours, what happens? Your glucose is still spiked, it has not yet reduced. So if you eat within that, what happens? You are giving a spike, and every time your glucose levels are high, by the way, it takes 10 years of this bad habit to be converted to diabetes.
10
So
years of doing this.
yes, 10 years. If somebody has diabetes, that means it's not 1 year, but it is irregulation for the last about 10 years. So that's why sometimes it's called a lifelong disease, but we found a way where you can actually reverse it and live a normal life, but you have to follow certain restrictions.
Right.
So after 16 hours, 4 to 16 hours is when the body begins to pull this excess glucose from the liver. Okay. So when you go fasting like that, so 16 hours means that's what people recommend, what we call as intermittent fasting. Right? Most people who follow fasting, they follow this intermittent fast where you eat within a certain time range and then you allow 16 hours till the next day. Suppose you eat your, say, 3-4 o'clock, boom, and then you eat, take, what do you call it, your breakfast at 8, like juices or whatever. I have many clients who are now 24 hours. They eat one lunch, boom, that's it.
So the benefit of, to just review, the benefit of that is to not spike your glucose as often?
Yes. See, the thing is, every time you spike your glucose
Yeah.
or sugar, every time you eat, your insulin levels also spike. Now, every time you spike insulin levels, what happens is, even if you eat very little, now when your insulin levels are too high, you know how the body reacts? Suppose I give you a crank call, right? Yogi Nataraj just feels I have Namras's number. Let me just keep calling him.
Right.
So I call you 10 times a day, then you are like, I'm not, you're going to block or, spam my number.
Right.
That is the way the body behaves towards insulin. And the body says, I have too much insulin. I can't handle this, block. So your insulin becomes useless. So that is why type 2 diabetics and today's population, 60% of American adult population is pre-diabetic, even in India. That's why the deaths were the highest, because of the high carb diet, high refined carb diet that people have, especially rice and chapati. And because the insulin levels are so high, they become useless. So type 2 diabetics have insulin, but it's useless. So that's the point. So when you give this 16 hours, when you give this 20 hours, you are letting the body absorb the sugar. You are letting the body also liver to detox. Most people have fatty liver because if you keep on eating, what happens? The body doesn't know, oh my God, insulin levels are high. So what does insulin do? It converts the sugar into fat and stores it in your liver. And most of us have a belly fat. It's actually not belly fat, it's enlarged liver,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
And one of the things that is a problem in today's society is people have heavy dinners.
Right.
So heavy dinner was the biggest reason I found. Most people who come to me for consultation, I tell them reduce dinner or cook at night, no problem, have good lunch, because that's how the day goes. The sun is at its peak, pitta is at its peak, that's when your digestion is best. If you eat heavy at night, you either sleep or you digest, so the food remains as it is. And second thing is the belly gets a little bloated or bigger at night when you eat, because daytime you walk, you exercise, the stomach
Right.
flattens, but your stomach can remain in that state. So that is why today having a little paunch is considered okay. Whereas one friend of mine shared a picture of ancient India and of a village, and people had such flat bellies. That was interesting, that people had such a good strong stomach. Now what happens when you do chia water is chia water doesn't spike insulin. It
Oh,
doesn't convert into high glucose, because chia lowers your sugar level. That is why it doesn't spike the insulin, and therefore chia is one of the best seeds to actually fast. That's why in our book we started with the chia lemonades. Now lemon, what it does, it converts, although it's an acid, it converts your body to alkaline, because when you take lemon, that's why when people fast they take lemon, because what lemon does is it converts your body into from acidic to alkaline. It converts into an alkaline juice. When your body is alkaline, no disease can exist. But when your body is acidic, so when you are angry, your body becomes acidic. When you are stressed, your body becomes acidic. Pitta rises. So when you take
just
lemon,
to, just to interrupt you for a second. What is a indication that your body is more acidic as opposed to alkaline? Like what can I observe in myself?
so first thing that you observe is that you don't have a focus,
Oh,
right?
right. I noticed that in
You
the fasting when I fast, and on day like 6 or day 5 or 6, I was just like, I cannot chant. Like I cannot sit down and chant. I was like so unfocused.
that is what happened with you during the fast is a different thing.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
when you, yes, so it can also be a little, there could be a little acidity. But what happens when you fast? When you brain, our brain, it only feeds on glucose. Okay, our brain feeds on glucose. Now it doesn't feed off fats. Now what happens is, in your fasting, when you go to second, third day, when you go to second, third day of a fast, what happens is your brain, which was totally depending on glucose, your glucose levels reduce. Okay. The next thing that the body needs is called as ketones. The brain actually feeds off ketones. Now, when you fast for 3, 4, fifth day, there is an in-between period, or sixth day, there's an in-between period where the body is cleansing the cells, where the body is cleansing itself. So that is called autophagy. Actually, there was a Nobel Prize given for this particular research, where the body, after the fourth or fifth day of fasting, begins to feed off of its own proteins or waste fats, waste proteins. It begins to digest. That phase is called autophagy. Now, at that point, for a day or two, the body is converting the proteins into fuel, yet the glucose, right? The brain is not getting the glucose. So you have a period in between couple of days, which you actually went through in your fifth or sixth day of fasting,
Yeah.
where the brain gets lesser glucose. But if you pass this phase, then what happens is this autophagy kind of continues into ketosis. Now, ketosis means what the body does is pulls the fat from anywhere in your body, because especially the liver. So, fatty liver is reversed, and it converts into these triglycerides into glycerol and then glycogen and glucose for the brain. Then the eighth day onwards, actually the brain begins to regrow. So
Mm,
you have to pass the 2 days
I
of,
see. Yeah.
right. So that's the most intense and most difficult period.
Yeah.
But this kind of fasting was very common previously, like this Chandrayana. I was interested to find that the Rig Veda, the Samaveda, Ayurveda, and most Vedas, most practices, they recommend that you do Chandrayana from full moon to full moon. You practice Chandrayana. And by practicing Chandrayana, what happens is it says not only does your physical karma go, your mental karma also goes away. That was interesting. Now, for example, if a disciple offends a guru, so it is recommended that he fast. Nobody asks you to feast,
Right.
right? You fast.
Right.
So he asked them to fast,
Yeah.
and in that fasting, what happens is that he you become more internal.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've seen. So what happens is, if our consciousness is concentrated here, just eating. So when we want to go deep, so we have 5 layers, right, to the body. The physical layer called Annamaya. Then we have the pranic layer, the breath, Pranamaya. Then we have Manomaya, the mind. Then we have the intellectual. So these go deeper and deeper. Now, when we are very busy with the physical layer, the physical body, then what happens? The consciousness or our area of focus is just the body.
Yeah.
So, for deeper meditation, for deeper breathing, now one of the benefits of fasting is you go into deeper breathing. I remember in my fourth semester of post graduation in yoga, when I was practicing pranayama, I could hold my breath for up to 3 to 4 minutes. The
Wow.
only food that I had was milk with ghee and sprouts. Milk with ghee and sprouts. So they are called the most pranic foods.
Right.
And for pranayama, that's what you actually need to act to practice deep pranayama, because ghee can rebuild the brain. if you reach, according to the Ashtanga Yoga process, if one passes the stage of asana and reaches the stage of pranayama, no disease can come to him. And I was interested to find that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, of purifiers, I am the wind. So pranayama actually purifies your deep karma.
Mm.
So what happens is when you fast, you are not only changing physical karma, but also there is also a change in mindset. There is a change in focus. So that is why you see this story where Prahlad in his previous life, he accidentally fasted on Narsimha Chaturdashi,
Oh, right. Yeah, that story. Yeah.
right? He accidentally fasted. So you see, it doesn't say he accidentally feasted. So by feasting, nobody gets siddhi.
Right.
That
Right.
was, I was like, he fasted previous night, and next life he became Prahlad.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? That fasting gives you not just the physical benefit, but it gives you the spiritual benefit. It has a lot because it opens up your layers.
Right.
And Prabhupada says, and it is found that research has it that excess fat also causes increased libido, increased drive
Mm.
in the body. So Prabhupada, that's why he said Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did not like fat disciples, or he did not want devotees to become fat. Hmm?
Also, isn't it also that I think I read in the Upadeshamrita that it's in a line here that if you can control the tongue and what you're eating, it can control the stomach and then to the genitals. It's like it's
Exactly. See, the thing is, upper part of your body from the chest to the neck. So this is called prana. Okay, pranavayu. Now in the middle, you have the samanavayu in the belly area, and in the below the lower abdomen, that is called as apanavayu. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says wonderfully, he says that pranapane samah kratva pranayama parayana, right? One who balances these two. Now another interesting thing that Krishna says, aham vaishwanaro bhutva praninam deham ashrita, right? So this samanavayu, so this circle of digestive air, that is Krishna. Now prana is going upward, apana is going downward. And in the second line of that verse, if I don't remember, but he says that I mix with those two. So he brings the food from here and he leaves the food from the apanavayu. So diabetes, for example, is imbalance of the apanavayu, of the downward air. For example, when you eat too much, when you eat at the wrong time, you are actually, it's like a air bubble, it's like a balloon, something like that. You fill up air. If you fill up too much air, the balloon doesn't go up, right? Or you fill up water in that, or you can put some liquids. So basically it is an air balance, and Srila Prabhupada explains that our body is all about balancing the airs, balancing the prana. Now this air going upward and there is the air going downward. Now when you eat, you have to respect. It is said one should eat half the stomach of solid, quarter liquid, and quarter one should leave for air circulation. Now that over a period of time, you should understand how much is half the stomach for you. It's like the fist, they
different
say,
for everyone.
till here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So don't overeat. So what happens is when you put too much pressure, if the apanavayu goes weak, then what happens? Your genitals are disturbed.
Hmm.
So when you overeat, the apanavayu goes bad or gets overactivated. That activates the genitals. So this is what is dangerous in the same line.
Right.
So when you fast, what happens? The apanavayu gradually heals. So the apanavayu, as you purify, like Krishnamacharya, for example, he knew that even the bones are held together in pressure, right? At the age of 92, he had a like you have this, hip bone, and he had a fracture at the age of 92. He practiced on his bed pranayama, certain asanas on his bed himself at the age of 93, and he reversed the fracture.
Wow.
So if you know this pranayama, so basically when you eat, it's a question of when you eat too much, the pressure is too heavy, and body pressure, what happens? It to balance this pressure from everywhere else, the body concentrates the energy on the belly. So when you eat too much, your focus is there. However, when you fast, what happens? You have higher energy, but you have to pass that sound barrier. Like what I say is what you went through the seventh day. That's the sound barrier. In a plane, when it has to cross the sound barrier, it vibrates violently.
Right. It has
And then,
to, and then when it goes past it, then it's like, okay, this is a little bit easier. So I wasn't able to pass that just because I didn't feel any peace. That was my main thing. It was like, I was very disturbed in my mind for some reason. Like, I was like watching Indian street food videos. It was so bad.
see, the thing is that when you prepare, see, but this will lead you when
Right.
you want to fast the next time. So
Yeah.
now you have a plan. Like, for example, people fast on Kartik, they have only fruits or something like that. But what you mentally prepare for in Kartik is, I'm not going to take anything stressful. I'm not going to
Right.
watch Indian street food videos, for example. so, so, so you make a plan
Yeah.
that I will not do any of these, and I will focus on the fast.
Because
Okay.
is it because that stress like triggers you to eat more or for the feeling to eat more?
Yes. See, now, for example, you would have had these, you were preparing for these interviews, for example. Like, even when you were doing the fast, you had so many things going on, maybe, like you said, to going to the hospital, or, speaking to your wife there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when you plan for a fast, sometimes, like in case of Prahlad, in his previous life, it was spontaneous. He fought with her, he just fasted, he got
Right.
the benefit.
Right. Right.
In your case, you are planning to go for longer. So when you go longer, see, it's good that first time you do a shorter fast. 7 days was great. What you survived was great. See, Chia makes it possible, because Chia doesn't let you raise the insulin. It provides you the energy. It was great. But more than 7 days, when you want to do, you should plan it out. And that's what I also learned, that if you do not plan, what happens is every time something comes up, so because your body needs rest, because it is transferring, right? So these 5 stages, so from where it goes from reducing the glycogen to transferring to feeding off your liver, and converting your fat. So coming to a point of ketosis, so that is from the 8th or 9th day, when your body just lives off your fat. Like within 6 months, Dhruva Maharaj was able to reach within 6 months the stage of pranayama.
Right.
It's incredible. I read his story, try to read his story or remember his story every night, to try to, I see him as an example.
Inspiration. Yeah.
And when we actually see that example, we are actually inspired. So from 9th day, it's going to be fine. Everything is, but to reach that 9th day, so when I did my chia water fast, I went through the same stage as you. On 8th day, 9th day, I was like asking my wife, do you think I'll make it? Do you think I'll make it? And she's been such an amazing support. She said, why not? You have told all your friends and put it on Facebook. Now do it.
Right.
I
Accountability.
mean, accountability. And not only that, she was very inspiring. But she said, it's if you will, then Krishna will help. And when
Mm.
she said that, I was like, yes. If and I just quietly calmed down, put everything aside if I do this. So similarly, yesterday, for example, I wanted to do 108 sun salutations, Surya Namaskars. So I reached like 85, and then I started, then I asked her. So then she said, again, she reminded me that if your desire is sincere, then Krishna will help. Then I said, let me sincerely uh, put an effort. And then I realized, then I could finish it. And I felt so different because it gives you both a mental as well as physical upliftment, both ways. So, for example, frankly speaking, for devotees, now another point, since we are just discussing about this, is that the word, the Chandrayana or the moon fasting, another thing that aspects. Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, he said all of the diseases, okay, they come because of mishandling the moon cycle or not real focus on the moon. Because we have Purnima, Amavasya, right? So these are very strong days. When this ship got stuck in Suez Canal, they removed it during the supermoon because the tide was 5 feet high. The water was 5 feet high.
Yeah.
Same thing happens to your body.
Mm.
Our level of pressure, our level of water pressure in the body, it raises. So that is why Ekadashi is a preparation for the full and new moon.
Oh.
So that is why he called it lunar. So lunatic. Lunatic means one who does not follow the moon cycle. Astrologically, when I give people solutions for their issues, the main thing, one of the things I recommend is Chandrayana, because one cycle of Chandrayana, so many sins go. But the main thing is when you fast on Ekadashi, Ekadashi to new moon, Ekadashi to full moon, I advise everyone to reduce their food because it is said in the scriptures also that is the time when your digestion is at its slowest.
So from Ekadashi to when?
To new moon and Ekadashi to full moon. That's 4 days. So total 8 days.
Right, right.
So those are the days it is said when the moon pressure is high and your digestion is low.
Right.
So that is so Amavasya and Purnima, usually people fast. And that is, if you see the Madhva system of Ekadashi fasting, it's a 3-day fast. So they are so healthy. You see Madhvites, they are so, most of them are really fit because Madhvacharya gave very strict guidelines on the Ekadashi fasting. Now he explains that when you fast on Ekadashi, he says the Agni in your stomach, it becomes divine. He burns off not only your physical karma, but also mental karma.
On Ekadashi.
On Ekadashi. That's why for them, Nirjal is normal.
Wow.
They take just 3 times Keshvaya Nama, Narayana Nama, Madhvaya Nama. Then next day, you don't run into a post Ekadashi feast.
Right, right. Like how we do.
So the body is now in a state of resting, and all of a sudden you wake it up with a big feast. So what it does is it's a gradual, right? So they go into the morning also just to break, they take something.
Right.
But then because Ekadashi night, most of them wake up till as much as they can. They do Harivasara. They stay close to the Lord. And next day, it's not that you can eat heavy. So it goes the next day, they eat very light juices, liquids. And then it goes into the third day when they gradually eat. But then it is close to Amavasya or Purnima. And then they control their diet again. So these days are given. Ekadashi is given so that we fast. However, we are Kali Yuga body and we are looking for a shortcut. Right? So that is why, we cannot eat this on Ekadashi. Then eventually we end up with a bigger feast and focusing more on the body. Whereas we find that one devotee told me this in Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is said that you wake up on Ekadashi, you don't even brush, you just chant the holy name, you don't even think about it.
Right.
And frankly, if one plans his Ekadashi fast nicely, no disease will come to him. Even if one is deceased, if you plan it out. See, the problem that I see that most devotees, we are not able to follow because our day-to-day life is so stressful.
Yeah.
And then we are addicted to eating carbs. By the way, yesterday I saw a documentary where a British doctor, he ate 80% processed foods for 1 month. He was very healthy. 80% within 1 month, he gained so much fat, his hormones changed and everything. But most importantly, within 1 month of eating such heavy carbs and processed carbs means, for example, rice. Today, rice, they remove the bran. So the protein is gone. So what you're eating is just starch. It is just sugar. And when you eat a flour, the protein, the energy, all these things are gone. What you have is just glucose. So that's why they spike sugar very high. Now, when you eat just chapati and rice all the time, when the sugar is very high, and this doctor, he said, your brain becomes addicted. So we become addicted to sugar. So sugar is addicting. So that's why they add sugar in everything today. And most dangerous thing about today's foods is in America, just to avoid dependence on sugar cane from Cuba. They started using sugar from corn, fructose, and high fructose corn syrup. And fructose just hits your liver. It doesn't process nicely. It causes liver damage. Now, what happens is when you are going through a cycle like that, to all of a sudden fast, and glucose gives you withdrawal symptoms, just like you said. So when you fasted,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
some burning sensation.
Yes,
And this
burning. I
and that.
remember like day 3 or something. It was like
Yes.
stomach was burning. Yeah.
Burning, yes. So what happens is because the body is addicted to something, used to something. Similarly, brain is used to so much glucose that you generally supply very high levels. Now, when you try to change the habit, the body gives you resistance. So
Yeah.
body resists.
Right.
So actually speaking, this is actually because of insulin resistance, what we call as insulin resistance. So if you can fast without too much stress, so that means you have low insulin resistance, means your insulin sensitivity is good, your body is healthy. However, within one meal or two meals, if you feel this burning, this and that, that means it's in a very bad cycle. There are too many toxins because, like we say, if you are eating too much starchy carbs all the time, what happens? The body oxidates. Means you have too much waste, right? Oxidation matlab, it's really like it's the food turns black, frankly speaking. So when many people, when we do this, I do this saltwater cleanse,
Right.
cleansing the intestines. I do that to many people. Many people report black kind of stool because it sticks to your intestines because of eating too much toxic food, fried food. All these pakoras, all these things that we
Oh, don't
eat.
tell
Oh
me
my,
that. Don't tell me bad things about pakoras. I love pakoras.
because they are vata, they are dry, you know.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, in Vedic time, there was frying. Nobody used oil. In
Right.
India, ghee was a common thing. If you fry in ghee, and ghee can be used number of times for frying. It is said if you want to fry in oil, the only oil that you can use is basically the Sanskrit word taila comes from til.
Till, yeah.
Til. And then now coconut oil is famous because it has a lot of linoleic acid. It's very beneficial, very healthy. So coconut oil or til oil. But we use this vegetable, refined oil, all these things. So these are industrial wastes.
Canola
Uh,
oil.
Canola oil. Oh my God. Canola oil is like really,
It's
it
like
kills you.
I heard it's like the worst thing.
And most of these Indian, what do you call these packed, uh,
Namkeens and
namkeens? Yeah, you see, they are all fried in palm oil. One, it is cheap. Second, palm oil is equal to diesel. It literally burns your belly. It literally burns. So when you stop eating this stuff, and especially like pasta that you are eating, Now,
Yeah.
pasta is pure sugar because out of all the carbs, so just like sugar, there is refined sugar. Now, similarly, in carbs, there is refined carbs. So, what they do is, for example, wheat. Now, whole wheat is recommended. By the way, like I was telling you, 50 years ago in India, 1950s, the wheat stalk used to grow almost like 10 feet. And the wheat was very healthy. That's why wheat is used commonly. And that fresh wheat flour was very healthy. Now, what happens today is today's wheat today's wheat, unfortunately, to harvest, because it's wheat by nature, any flour by nature, any grain by nature is little sweet. So they are attacked by pesticides. So they use glycophosphate. Now, glycophosphate kills the nervous system. A German government report said that it literally attacks your nervous system. Now, imagine today's most of the people consume wheat in many different ways, rotis, this and that. That is when I realized that it is a myth that those who have diabetes or sugar should eat wheat or chapatis to control diabetes. Actually, it kills your beta cells. It can make you forever diabetic because it's not just the wheat, but the nature of glycophosphate, right? A glycophosphate. So, glycophosphate is what gives you that wheat allergy, gluten allergy, all that we call. It's not just the gluten. It is basically this glycophosphate. Now, that is why you get autism, different things. It can literally kill your immune system. Now, other thing is this for me became like a very prominent thing when I realized there was a lady who was given $28 million in Las Vegas, awarded because she ate peanuts and she went into an anaphylactic shock. Now, I was explaining this to
It was
you.
like a settlement or something.
Yeah, $28 million settlement
Yeah.
because the first responders were supposed to have some kind of EpiPen or something. It was like a $5 thing, and they missed it. They did not get it, and her shock continued for such a long time that she became permanently disabled. So that they had to pay. The emergency responders had to pay. They were supposed to have it. Now I was thinking, why peanut should cause this? And that's when I realized that peanut is grown in the same fields as wheat. And 60 to 70% of what is sprayed on wheat on these helicopters, glycophosphate, goes into the soil. And then these peanuts, the skin just absorbs this glycophosphate. Now, when I saw this whole incident, what struck me was when Prabhupada said, grow your own food.
Mm.
I literally realized why as devotees, we need more farm projects. We need our own. That's why what you grow, the food that you grow, the flowers that you grow, when you offer it to Krishna, they are 10 times more or 100 times more valuable. It's not just because they are healthy, fresh, and that's one thing. Second is the essence. When they grow all these things, when they are giving you, they are just selling you something. Like when a mother cooks and feeds the child, there is so much love. So even a farmer, when he grows with love, it has so much love, right?
Yeah.
So that love transforms into energy. But today's food is just, you know,
Machine
so,
made
and it's
or
literally
processed.
poison.
Right.
And that's what they're giving you. So when we try to fast, so that's why the chia seed. So first time I did a 3-week water fast, and that was tough. I managed 3 weeks, but next time I decided I want to do the whole month. So that's why I chose chia water, like I gave you, because what happened was I realized that body, because we are so nutrition deficient when we fast. So when we fast, what happens is those nutrition deficiency could show up. So that's why this chia water actually helps you sustain the fast.
Right. I have a question. So you're saying you were saying how we fast because we want to the insulin and that glucose levels are going down, and then we're trying to help repair the body as those go down, right? That's kind of like the main point. But why, what's the reason to do it on such a long period of time? Like, why can't you just do like, you said it takes what, 24 hours or whatever amount of 72 hours or something. Why can't you do just like 3 or 4 days at a time and just do it maybe like once a month or something? What's the reason to do like 3 weeks or like one full month?
Yeah. Okay. So here it is. So in Hindi we say loha garam hai hatoda mar do, right? When the
Right.
when the iron is hot, strike it.
Right.
Now there are two things we want to achieve. One, short-term fasts give you benefits, but short-term, right? But when you do it regularly over a period of time, like if you follow this Ekadashi to new moon, Ekadashi to full moon cycle, if you follow it regularly, it adds up. Okay, over a period of time, you get the long-term benefits. Now, at the same time, we need to have a diet which is low in sugar. We need to have a healthy diet, more green vegetables, more quinoa, more millets, But when you do a long-term fast, you are coming up to that point of the loha garam hai. You are making your body transform completely. Now, by the way, your body has enough fat to last 50 days only on water.
50
By the way,
50 days, 50.
50
Wow.
days. Between 40 to 50 days, everybody has enough fat to last only on water for 40 to 50 days, right? What we need is the ability to fast or the will. Now, when you do long-term fasting, like we say, after the 9th day, your body goes into ketosis, right? Your body goes into ketosis. And then the period after that is called as protein conservation. Protein conservation means your body mostly feeds off its own fat. Mostly feeds off its own fat. So when you reduce and then you permanently change your diet. So when you do a longer fast, what happens is, now there is a catch in this, what I realized. Let me add my realizations. I have a god brother who had a big belly, very big belly. And he fasted like 1 month, lost 96 kilos. He was huge. And he gained the weight in 2 months. Now, what he did not do,
You're,
what I
you're
learned,
saying you're saying he gained it back in
he
two
gained it
months
back.
after
Yeah.
he fasted? Right.
Yeah. So what I learned from that was, when you do a long-term fast, okay, one, we should learn. So there is a lot of understanding required according to Ayurveda about our nature. What is good for us, what is not good for us. So this is first thing you need to learn, because after fasting, people think you can just eat anything. No, you should eat what suits you, number one. Second is, in Ayurveda, the healthiest people, if you see people who live 100 years, 200 years, or not 200 years, I'm sorry, 100 years.
I was like, whoa, someone who lived 200 years.
No, there is a Baba in Vrindavan. So
Yes.
in Japan or China, those who there are villages where these farmers live 100 years. So one of the things they found was their diet was simple. Okay, diet was simple. Second, they had a set routine. So the best thing that you could do when you actually fast, because you are not worried about cooking, eating so much, is to actually set yourself into a good routine. Now, like I said yesterday, I reached 108 sun salutations. That was a great achievement for me. I couldn't do that before.
Wow.
Now this was because the fast that I started last year, right? I did the whole month of April. I fasted, I focused. But as I went on, I started Ekadashi to new moon, Ekadashi to full moon, Ekadashi to new moon. I keep, like, today is Ekadashi, right? So I'm
Yes.
just I'm just having that chia water. That's it. I'm not going to cook and eat anything. Of course, our kids eat, but I'm just going to focus on that. And not only that, tomorrow, day after, and I've been having just one lunch last 4 months. So very small. So tomorrow's again, it's just quinoa khichdi, just a little bit, and then you gradually increase. I try to follow the moon cycle as much as I can. Now this became possible. This became possible because during my fast, I focused on two things. One, strengthening. See, you know what they do for people who overeat, who have diabetes, who have thyroid issues, they tend to overeat. So what they do is they cut the stomach. That's the one of the major operations going on now. Or they do a lot of
They,
enema therapy.
they tie the stomach so it
Yeah,
becomes
this
smaller.
smaller, yes.
Right, right.
That's I was thinking diabetes type 2 people do an operation and get better. I was like, what is it? So basically they do it, they cut the stomach size so that you don't overeat. But that also doesn't help because your digestion is weak. Whereas in Ayurveda and yoga, here we talk about how to permanently improve. And it is said in Ayurveda, your longevity depends on Agni. Because basically what happens is as your digestion becomes weak, your Ojas Shakti becomes weak. Ojas and Tejas. Hmm? So there are two things. So Ojas is the physical glow, it's there. Tejas is the intellectual sharpness. By the way, it takes 35 days for what you eat to be converted to Ojas. Now, any one of the days we go off on an eating binge, then your digestion is again halted. So basically, why the population today is pre-diabetic, according to Ayurveda, if you know, is because people's routine is missing.
Mm.
They don't have a set routine. Like even ours, even when we live in a temple, the problem, I lived in temple for a long time. What I saw was every festival, like we fast and then we have a heavy feast and then we go off for a few days. And this has been the cycle.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I cannot go out like this. You see, most Maharajas have their own diet. Nobody follows what we call the standard temple diet because you cannot eat heavy carbs. They have realized their
Yeah.
health has gone bad. A lot of this, what do you call cholesterol, all these things. So regulation. So when you do the long-term fast, what happens is it gives you an opportunity because sometimes we want to change a habit, but because our subtle bodies are so strongly used to it, moment you stop the fast, you get back to your old eating habits or own schedule. So we should use this opportunity. So whenever we do a long time, especially Kartik, for example, or they say in 4 months, of this um, Chaturmas, right? You fast, you do certain things, and Kartik, you really want to fast. The thing is, every time you do, the diet is directly linked to your mental evolution.
Yeah, for sure.
So long-term fasts in our shastras are described. For example, the Chandrayana fast is described like the guru. I told you, when he offends, the disciple offends guru, he fasts, and then he can bring about remorseful feelings. So when you do that 1 month fast, what happens is you bring about that internal focus that you really wanted to have. You cut down too much eating, so your Annamaya focus is less, but you should be trained to fast. Then you
Mm.
are able to focus more pranayam, focus more chanting, more deeply. Because if you're eating heavy, your breathing is shallow and you're not able to go deeper, right?
Yeah.
So fasting really helps you in many different ways, depending on how you want to apply it. So that is why this fasting is a whole wonderful science. And for me, to tell you frankly, now with this lockdown, it's been more and more of a recovery, learning.
Mm.
Learning every day. I'm learning something new. So many people come, like I said, this devotee with this trigeminal. Now he's settled into a nice long-term diet. millets, no wheat, all these things. And that's what we want to do. So long term fasts are to change you physically, mentally, and get into a good exercise routine.
Right. Someone, a friend told me, like, what was the use of you doing that 1 week fast? Like, you couldn't do the 3 week thing. So what's the use of you doing it? And I told him that I actually, my mindset has changed on like eating. Like, there's like some new insights now about like, okay, cut out dinner, or you need to eat less, or the things we can eat are different. So it's a little bit of it's like a gradual thing. And that kind of goes into my next question about, you're talking about, okay, wheat and chapatis and rice and pakoras, and these things are not the best thing for us long term. This is a very a very kind of jarring thing to say to a normal devotee, because that's so much out of their normal. Like, you're telling someone to really change their lifestyle. So what is something that we can do, like, to make it less kind of less of a huge change and more of like a gradual change, as opposed to it being like, you have to fast for 30 days and you have to stop pakoras for the rest of your life?
Okay, that's very. Let me add something more shocking. Okay,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
even more.
Oh, even more shocking than you've been shocked us.
So there's just one thing that I learned from Radha Govind Maharaj. So I had the opportunity to meet Radha Govind Maharaj, spend some time with him.
Right.
Actually, he had a stroke, and I was trying to do some yoga nidra. The first thing he told me, the only reason I am allowing a yogi to, do this yoga nidra is because you are a devotee. Ramdev helped, and he said, I will cure you. I said, I don't want an Arya Samaji to cure me. he said, I don't want a yogi who is an atheist. And he
Right.
said, I'm ready. And I was amazed that Maharaj said, I am ready to remain in this condition rest of my life rather than being cured by an atheist.
Wow,
I
that's
thought,
heavy.
I was amazed by Radha Govind Maharaj's determination that he's ready to say, we would be like, somehow cure me.
Cure
Then
me, cure me. Yeah, I don't care who does it. Wow.
Maharaj was like, I don't mind remaining like this rest of my life. But then what I used to do is yoga nidra, relax him, and read the chapters of where Uddhav Gita, where we are visualizing Paramatma. And Maharaj had those verses by heart. And I had to just start the verse, and Maharaj would meditate. And it was a beautiful time I had with him. He told me something one day, and I was telling him about diet. I said, no paneer, no this, no that. He said, मैंने 40 साल से पनीर नहीं सब्जी नहीं खाया. 40 years I have not eaten paneer sabji. He said, Prabhupada said, to attract these meat eating Westerners, I am making this paneer sabji which tastes similar,
Right.
but it is not the food for a yogi. Like I have this friend, Guru Govind Kripa, and he puts this Ayurveda, bites on Facebook. And he said, milk with salt is not good. I said, Prabhu, how about paneer sabji? Oh.
So you're telling me paneer sabji is like bad too? I mean, there's too many shocking things you're telling us. We can't follow anything. In all seriousness though, Prabhu, like, people, I can understand if people will just write off what you're saying based upon this kind of very big huge change that you're telling us to make.
So the thing is that what I realized was once in a while it's okay. But in general, our diet should be very healthy. Now, for example, we are used to a lot of carbs, hmm? Chapati, rice. Now, instead of too much carbs. Now, for example, last 2 years, out of 365 days, I would have had rice maybe 5 days. That's it, festival days. I eat mainly quinoa, foxtail millet, which is just like rice. I mean, you just cook them just like rice and have your sabji. Instead of rice or chapati, you can just have quinoa and millets, which is also equally tasty. And that's what I generally have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and quinoa, millets, and eat more sabji. Now, this may seem a little difficult to understand, but eat more sabji, right? When you eat more vegetables, you get more vitamins. So mornings, what I do is I have fruits, like I have the chia every morning, hot teas, like in the book you have, our book, we have this ginger tea, turmeric tea. So begin your day with teas, hot teas, improve your circulation, have chia water, have a smoothie. I know a very healthy doctor, cancer doctor, and he said after 30 years, he's in 2 hours from here. My very good friend, he said, after doing this cancer research for all these years, I found out it's their diet. The problem is all our diet, all these diseases, uh, they don't show up until it's too late.
Mm.
That's the problem. That's the problem, because all of a sudden people discover I'm in cancer stage 3. I am in this, and many devotees also, I have this issue, I have this issue. All of a sudden, and it comes to a point where you cannot reverse it. There are some symptoms, but if you don't do it immediately. So what I realized was, because these millets, quinoa, they are all organic. You cannot grow them with this. So, but rice and wheat, especially with the glycophosphate, they are very injurious. So I changed that. Now, second is vegetables. The more you have green vegetables, healthy vegetables, you have more salads, right?
Yeah.
So that is very healthy. Now, have a good lunch. That's what I followed. You cannot restrict, like have a good lunch. So, in the sense, whatever is healthy from whatever we discussed, we can have varieties like dal. So, lentils are good. Dal is very good. So, beans, dal, this gives you all the proteins that you need. And the best food for a Ayurvedic food, the best energetic food is actually sprouts. Have sprouts 2 to 3 days a week. The best grain according to Ayurveda, I never realized. When you do yagya, what is the grain that you use to do swaha?
Barley.
Barley, yes. I was amazed to find when after fasting, so when I wanted to come back to a regular diet, so my wife said, let's have barley, like for a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
It was the first time after the fast, when I wanted to come out of a fast, I wanted to maintain the benefits. I did not want to again gain weight or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
or go back to bad health. So we had barley soup for a week. And then I realized that why is it called number one grain for yagya? Number one grain according to Ayurveda, that is barley. And then our kids started loving barley soup. So barley soup we do 2 to 3 days a week now. So it's sometimes
Oh, like
it's
a
people.
like a tomatoes, like a tomato soup with barley in it or something.
She mostly uses beets because beets cleanse the liver.
Oh, okay.
Beet. So she makes like a beet sauce. We reduce tomato, not so much because tomatoes are a slightly acidic by nature.
Right.
So tomatoes are slightly acidic, and this tomato skin actually doesn't digest. So we try to reduce general use of tomato. Sometimes we do use, but not like a lot of the time. But kind of, she makes a veggie gravy, and which she puts the boiled, this beets and many other vegetables,
Hmm.
and it's very tasty, like a soup.
Right.
And soups actually digest faster. Soups are the most energetic. Like, so if we get used to eating more soups, because soups are half digested. See, when you are sick, you have like a juicy or like hot. Like my mother used to give me kanji. Kanji is like boiled rice with the water.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So hot, yeah. So why is that? Because it digests. Even when you're sick, it digests the juicy form. So
So
similarly,
a pr-
soups digest well.
principle is that you should eat things that are easily digestible. That's a
Yeah,
principle.
yeah. Because the thing is, uh, if we eat for taste all the time, they may not be very healthy.
That's
But
yeah.
if you eat for health, right? And that's how the yogi should come to a point. Hmm? So now, second thing is we eat according to our body and our work. So that's the main thing. Because many a times what happens is, I remember Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj telling in one lecture, beautiful lecture, he said, Bhima karma vrakodaraha. Right? Bhima is known to eat heavy, but he said, if you want to eat like Bhima, then work like Bhima.
Right, right. You're not, go out in the fields and do the, really hard labor and stuff, or fighting or whatever it was.
That's what I realized is for the work that we do today,
Yeah,
on the computers and
that's me.
sitting.
Yeah,
Most devotees, software engineers and all that,
yeah,
we have too much carb for our own good. See, if you see in Punjabis, like they are very strong and they are in the military and they are farmers and they have paratha, rice, like it's there because they need a lot of carbs because they are so physically active, they can digest even stones, so to speak.
right.
So everybody has a nature. But I'm mostly South Indian and most South Indians I know, like we are into, all this teaching and all that. Now, if we eat paratha, rice, all these carbs, so you are just spiking sugar all the time.
Yeah,
And most devotees that we did the fast, most were software engineers and most were addicted to eating, uh, this chapati, rice, which we think is okay, but actually it is not. When I switched to quinoa, I noticed the difference. Not on day one, few days it took to really get used to. But then I realized this is the best thing you can eat. It's actually energetic. Then we tried out millets, barley. And the next piece of advice after morning, another thing is fruits you should always eat in the morning. Okay, because they have vitamin A, B, C, K1, K2, J. All these, even vitamin C, like lemon, all the orange, all these things. You have all those benefits. Now, one of the things that you did in the fast, I asked you to eat soaked nuts in the morning.
yeah. I looked forward to
Right?
that every morning. It was like the only thing I was like, these like 4 walnuts are like the most amazing thing to eat. You're
So
fasting.
what happens? So when you're fasting, what happens is that whatever you eat, they absorb better. So these dry fruits and this uh, chia has 4 times more calcium than milk actually. So much protein. So these nuts, walnuts, almonds, they have vitamin D, which is very rare in any other thing else. So they actually fortify you, they strengthen you. So mornings, if you have this, you are getting all the vitamins, minerals you need. Another thing about fruits, when you eat later in the day, morning to afternoon, it's hot. It's considered like hot. So they digest better. Evenings, it gets cold. So one of the reasons for cancer, mm, that was is that if you have fruits immediately after meals, so the fruit has to go fast through your intestine. If it gets stuck in traffic, lunch traffic, lunch hour traffic, the fruits, the fruit begins to decay,
Oh,
rot. And that's one of the reasons it becomes acidic and the body begins to rot. So that's why in Ayurveda, there is a time that fruit should be eaten separate, fruit should be eaten mornings, you have good lunch, and dinner is actually optional. So most people, what I say is dinner, if you can cut out, which is not possible easily, but what you can do, like I told you, what we were discussing just before the start, one of the ways to overcome joint pains, right? So what I advise, what is the best meal? I saw this from my own Guru Maharaj, who at the age of 76, you know, he had COVID, but he did not take a vaccine, but he recovered because his immune system was so good. And the reason is morning he follows the same: soak dry fruits, good lunch, and just a cup of milk with turmeric and ghee at night.
what
That's
does
all.
he eat for lunch?
Lunch, he has regular lunch in
It,
between for,
can I
yeah,
can I just, I guess maybe from what you said I can kind of answer answer my own question, but like the principle should be more vegetables and less rice and wheat, but you can substitute it with like a millet or barley or any other kind of grain, because what, as devotees, like what we usually like to eat is like a vegetable preparation and then like a rice preparation, like
Yes.
chapati or pasta or rice or something to eat with the vegetables. So you're saying a good lunch would be vegetables with some type of this kind of millet grain type of preparation. Is that what you're kind?
Yes.
Is that considered a good lunch?
Yes. See, the thing is, when you have too much carbs, rice,
Yeah.
all this, so they spike sugar very fast. One of my Ayurveda, colleagues, friends from India, he told me that today's rice, what's happening, except for wild rice, mostly white rice, they remove the rice bran and they sell it back to you as rice bran oil. Just like in milk, they remove the fat and sell it back to you as butter, right? So basically, the rice has nothing in it. So first thing we have to understand, what we are eating is really for taste.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got nothing much, and it spikes your sugar. So when your sugar goes up, everything else, so the body is just trying to fight an emergency. So it is trying to manage the glucose.
Mm.
Everything else that you are eating, even if it's good quantity of vegetables and all that, the energy kind of doesn't sink in to the body because of the glucose. So when you have more vegetables, if you see South Indian Udupi Brahmin prasad, first they give you little sprouts, then they give you some chutneys, then there is sabjis, and the rice comes like really at the end, and very little rice. It's not like too much rice. And then they have curd rice in the end. So curd has a lot of curd is now in America curd is paneer, but not that curd. The
Yogurt.
dahi, and this dahi is probiotic.
Right.
And one of the things I was amazed to realize, the highest amount of good chemicals that your body needs, serotonin, it comes from your guts. It's not from the brain. So the thing is, the more you are able to eat foods that control the glucose levels, everything else digests. You add this curd and other probiotic healthy, like ginger, which digests better. Your gut bacteria, as it improves, your serotonin levels, your energy levels are far, far higher.
Wow.
So that's the thing. There is a science. Now, if you eat heavy dinner, what happens? You may feel good, but eventually what happens? It slowly, as your stomach fat builds up, your digestion goes slow. So that's why I always say, even if you have any amount of overeating at lunch, it's still okay. But dinner, when you overeat, that's it. It's a chronic cycle. So unfortunately, it becomes a cycle. Once your punch or belly comes out, then what happens? It slows down and then it becomes a perpetual cycle. And the best way to reverse this whole thing is fasting.
Right. I want to take questions because there's a number of questions in the comments, but I also want to say that kind of the realization I'm having when you were talking about, so the sannyasis, they have their own, they in our movement, they have their own diets. They don't follow that temple diet. The temple diet is really for a few things. One thing, it was for attracting people to Krishna consciousness, right? The halava, the pakoras, and all that, it was attracting people. And secondly, that you can't sustain your life on that diet all the time. You'll get health issues.
See, the thing was what I realized when somebody said ISKCON bullets, ISKCON bullets. In the beginning, we were all excited. Bullets, bullets, bullets.
Bullets.
then you take it's a real bullet.
Yeah.
After some time. So in the
Yeah.
beginning, see, but what I realized was Srila Prabhupada was trying to introduce vegetarianism to a bunch of young those who are addicted to alcohol, those who are addicted to drugs, for them, even to vegetarianism,
Right.
forget, for them to switch from meat to vegetarianism, they needed something heavy that was like really a substitute that they could really depend on.
Right.
Now, the second thing we have to realize, although they had such heavy rice, chapati, sabji, dal that they were doing, you eat according to time, place, circumstance. They would go out on Sankirtan for 8 hours. That's when I realized that during Prabhupada's time, they would eat all this, yet they would go out for Sankirtan, they would digest, and they would come back hungry. And
Right.
at that age, and actually, one of the things your Prahladan Maharaj interview, Prahladan Maharaj said, Prabhupada focused on preaching, not on his own health. So
Right.
although Prabhupada had so many health issues, yet he tried to be as normal in terms of his eating. Although I'm just amazed with so many health issues, he still managed. It's incredible how Prabhupada could do it. It's only, he's an empowered person. That's it. There's no other
Sure.
explanation how he could do it. But we are not that. We have a, body, and we are not that advanced in our mind. So
Yeah.
we have to take care of the body. So the point was, at that time, it was good, but the same sannyasis today, their diet is totally different. And the second thing that happens in the temple, even if you see, even today, like I lived in temple, so you have to feed a mass of people, right? You cannot make for two devotees, special, healthy, or
Right.
this or that. You have to, others will ask, why not us? And these
No.
foods are like quinoa, this, that. It might be a little expensive when you have to spend for so many people. Like potatoes, for example, underground, they are the number one causes of gas, right? Potatoes, they are such high in their glycemic index is so high. Basically, that's not for those who are trying to fast or focus. So potatoes are not good, but that's something that is commonly used because you are feeding a mass of people. So you want everybody to be satisfied.
Yeah.
But if you see, for example, temples like I visited in India, I was doing the same thing in India about 12 years ago. I used to visit different temples. So in Pune, Chopati, they introduced like simple khichdi also. Now, along with too many vegetables and little spicy khichdi, they introduced like simple, and they called it health khichdi. And I was thinking in my mind, so what do you call the other khichdi?
Right. Right.
If I call this health khichdi,
Healthy
you
kitchen.
know?
Unhealthy kitchen.
So I was like funny. But then they changed. They made ragi like drinks and all these soups they started introducing for devotees, and those who wanted, they could go to this. There was this option. So gradually many temples, like other day I was speaking to one devotee. He said in his temple they started morning 8 a.m. heavy breakfast, then good lunch, good dinner. Then he said within 6 months the breakfast line disappeared. Everyone's health went because of eating heavy all the time.
Oh my
The
God.
breakfast 100 people has reduced to 20. So what I realized that in temples there are so many constraints,
Yeah.
right? To actually make an individual diet and things like that. Now, second thing in temples that I see is there is a lot of sugar, lot of sweets, Mangalarti offering, this offering, and every time there is sweets, chapatis, puris. Now all these, and I thought Prabhupada ate puris. How is that? How is that? So that is because they were fried in ghee. Number one, they
Mm.
were always fried in. Now ghee fry and oil fry are totally different. Now ghee
Yeah.
fry is still okay. It is still healthy. That's according to Ayurveda, because now in our body there are two types of fat. One is good fat and bad fat. Like there are so many technical terms. Now the fat that your brain has, the fat that your backbone, the cranial system has, so that is called medas. Okay,
Made
that
it.
is called medas. Whereas everywhere else, what you have in your body, if you eat these cheap oils, so that is bad fat. So Ayurveda recommends that you do everything in ghee because it directly feeds this medas
Yeah.
and the brain. It helps the brain regrow, whereas other oils do not. Now, second thing is sugar kills. In India, there was no refined sugar being used, so they used to use jaggery.
Jaggery, yeah.
Now, even when you make a sandesh, like that's why Prabhupada said paneer. When you make sweet, it's good because milk with sweet is good. But when you make it with salt, it becomes poison, like paneer sabji. So this,
Just throwing
okay.
that there. Paneer sabji is poison.
No, I meant to say it doesn't digest well. Okay.
Right, right, right.
Once in a while, festival, it's fine, but not like a regular diet. Hmm?
Yes,
Uh,
agreed.
We have it like once in like a festival. That's it. Like maybe 3 or 4 months, just because of habit, we've been in it. So
Festival.
sometimes, but yeah, but in general, we try to avoid it. Even we don't even get it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in temples, because there are so much sweets, sometimes it's easy to get addicted to those sweets, but that can be dangerous. Actually, you get more benefit by giving them away than actually eating them. So when we say, like, even when I was young, I remember, like in I grew up because my lineage is my great grandfather. They were all priests, so we were living right behind a temple. And whenever we used to go, the Mahaprasad, the sweet, it was like a spoon, like the sweet. It was not like in a whole plate.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
problem, the problem is when we eat too much. And today we don't use jaggery. We use refined sugar.
Mm.
Now that is the problem. Now, for example, even the milk that we offer to the Lord, we have so much refined sugar that it really raises your sugar level. So what happens is it doesn't strike you immediately, but over a period of time, that's why many devotees become sick. Now, interestingly, the rise in sugar levels, what I realized, I mean, it was shocking at one point. That's when I really said no more rice. So the hormones that are activated by high sugar are the same hormones as schizophrenia. So when you fast, when the sugar levels are balanced, your mind, so that's why it is said that especially when high tide, if you have sugar, if you are unbalanced, like you say, if the water of a sea can rise by 5 feet, you can imagine the level of pressure that's happening to your body. So there are studies to prove that new moon and full moon have the highest amount of crimes that happen. So
Right.
basically,
Heard that.
so right. So basically, when you control or you balance your sugar levels, your water levels are controlled, especially when fasting. It gives you so much benefit because these hormones, these schizophrenic hormones, and all other things. So that is why a yogi's diet is very light, very low in sugar, very calm, but it has to be a mix. You cannot just survive off a diet because of today's diet doesn't have enough nutrition. By the way, before I forget, nutrition, the best nutrition, the cheapest way to actually prevent COVID and to improve your immunity is sunlight. That's what an average American in general, because of especially in East Coast, I'm happy after I moved to Vegas, we have sun all the time. But
Mhm.
when I was living in East Coast, that was one of the things that was missing.
Yeah.
That is vitamin D. You have to expose yourself to the sun at least an hour. That is why Surya Namaskar was a part of. I was amazed to find that every yajna in Yajurveda, every yajna in Rig Veda, the priest has to do Surya Namaskar first. And previously it was not inside, right? The yajna was outside, so in the sunlight. So they used to do this Surya Namaskar, worshipping the sun. Imagine how strong they were. I have a video where one of my friends sent me where this yogi is doing. He's balancing on one leg. He's doing Surya Namaskar, the sunlight. That's why I realized how you become so healthy, because the vitamin D is the most critical factor. 98% of the people who died of COVID, they had lack of vitamin D. So lack of proper sunlight and the conversion. So if we spend enough time, like an hour in sunlight. That's why before our show, I was in the park. I did all my practice in sunlight. I sweat it out with the Surya Namaskara,
Yeah.
And this is one thing that devotees don't do because we are so busy in the temple routine and most of the early morning, then we take rest in the day, and what we eat is heavy carbs. Generally, if you depend on temple food, so that's what happens. So when you are young, it's okay, but moment it strikes, so it's better to make the changes. Where
Yeah.
the two changes that you should do. If you do these two changes, then it will be very good. One is reduce refined sugar, like white sugar, refined sugar, because that's like very high. Second is refined carbs, like white flour, right? What we call as no purpose, sorry, all purpose,
All
no,
purpose. No purpose too, right? No. There's no purpose in it.
it's got nothing. It's got no protein, nothing. It's just sugar. That's why it spikes your sugar like really high.
Right.
So if we can cut down those two things, have a good lunch, have mornings, this, and night, try to have just soups. You see over a period of time how your body changes.
Amazing. Yeah, I really like that because I think we need to introduce like gradual. I know this was about fasting and the benefits of fasting, but as you were speaking, I was realizing that a lot of devotees maybe may not be able to do that immediately. We have to work towards it, but a way to change their lifestyle now is to cut out the dinner, have a good lunch, and a good lunch means vegetables and some type of grain, but not the grains that we know, but the grains like millet and quinoa and buckwheat and things. And in the morning, fruits and dry fruits and nuts that you soaked the day before. I think that's a good kind of starting point.
And this chia lemonades in the morning. Mm.
Right. Chia
So
lemonades in the morning. Yeah.
yeah, actually, that's why it became a superfood. Today, chia, I did not realize it. So,
Yeah.
but when I fasted, and for all the people who join our program, the 1 month fasting program or the 3 week program like you did,
Yeah.
we actually do first week chia water lemonade, second week chia water and smoothies, and third week we do the soups so that you gradually transition. But frankly speaking, you in the end you feel more energetic. Like at the end, once you started eating, I'm sure, like we discussed, you start have soups for 2 3 days, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, but you are not really feeling weak, except that one period in between when the
No, there
brain.
wasn't. Yeah, there wasn't weakness. Only like a day or two, like in the first, I think second or third day, it was like a lot of weakness. But then I remember you telling me after the third day, then you don't feel weak anymore. And I felt okay. The only thing that was really bothering me was my mind. It was really a mind thing. It was all
Yes,
a
so
mind.
that is the transition between ketogenesis and ketosis, right? There's a glucogenesis and ketosis. So glucogenesis, because the brain depends too much or on glucose. See, the thing is, body either depends on glucose or fat. Okay, so when your body depletes the supply of glucose when you do a prolonged fast, they every other organ converts triglycerides. So that's why within 1 month of our Chandrayana fast, most people's cholesterol came to normal because all the triglycerides are digested.
Wow.
Brain is the only organ that doesn't directly do that. It still needs glucose. So the liver has to break down the triglycerides into glycogen, into glucose, and then send it to that 2 days in between where the supply is restored to the brain. So to ketosis, that's called autophagy. That's where you have to drink a lot of water, rest more, relax more, and just wait it out, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you enter that, you cross the sound barrier. Like once I crossed the 10th day in my fast, the 1 month chia water fast I did, once I crossed the 10th day, that's it.
Yeah.
I was, then it took me, then by the time it was 20th day, I was like, okay, only 10 more days. Like I was so easy. I was amazed how easy it is, but
Yeah.
you have to cross that. So that's where we say, that's where we need lead knowledge, like what's happening to me. So that's what I do. So anyone who joins the course, I do an interview. I explain to him what to expect, what to do, relax more, and then once you do this, you'll find it easy.
I found it, like, I really want to do it again. Like I've had this like fire to be like, okay, I did it already for a week. Now let's try to give it another chance. And another thing was that if you just live your life kind of just on autopilot and you don't challenge yourself and move out of your comfort zone, you won't make any growth. And this was, I felt a real, like, I don't have so many challenges in my life. Like, although everyone has challenges, but when it comes to physical things, like, I don't have so many health issues or anything, but this was like a real challenge that I wanted to take on. And it was really, I got so many realizations from it, and I want to do it again. And I think for devotees who are kind of thinking about it, it's like, it's not as bad as you think. Like, you can have the nuts in the morning, the little few soaked nuts. We cheated with like an avocado, which was not a cheating actually, but it was like, you said it was okay to, in the middle to have an avocado, which was like the most phenomenal avocado I've ever had. It had like a little bit of black salt on it. And for someone who hasn't eaten anything for days, it's like the most amazing thing to eat. And then throughout the day, drinking that chia lemonade with different fruits blended in, which was really, it was filling, and I felt good. It was really just the mind. And I think now that I have done it, I know what to expect. And I know that I could do more, and I know it's helping you. So for all our listeners, if you want to reverse health issues, if you want to prevent health issues, try to do a fast and get in touch with Gaur Nataraj Prabhu and his book, and his wife, who's also co-written the book as well. They are specializing in this, so get in touch with them if you want to try this out. And I think I'd really love to bring you on for another, because we can go on talking about this forever. There's like so many things to talk about. But
Yeah.
Prabhu, I want to stop you right now and kind of let's look at the questions, because I think there's some nice questions in the comment section. So let's start here. For clarification and for review, could you list the necessary time period, ingredients, and environment for a successful fast, which brings about ketosis? Thank you for explaining alternative treatments for good health. This is from Sundar Nitai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So the best time to begin a fast is full moon. That's when I recommend, because that's when the energy of the moon is at the max, and it's also called as a Purna Tithi according to astrology. Means anything you start and
Can I
finish
interrupt?
on a.
Sorry, I want to interrupt.
Mhm.
From my experience. So Gaur Nataraj Prabhu had me started on full moon, and he said to go out to the moon and because it's like Krishna, it's like a representation of Krishna, to pray to the moon to please make my fast, successful. And it was a really beautiful meditation, going out there in the night, seeing that full moon and starting this fast. Like, okay, I'm going to start this fast. And you say the moon, there's a mantra that you say. It was really nice. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Yes, because actually moon is responsible, because Krishna is from the moon dynasty. So moon rules the mind according to astrology, and in yoga also. So the full moon is the day when we start a fast. So in our Chandrayana fast, what we do is we gradually reduce by 115. So there are two types of fast. Second is we just go on this chia water. So literally the chia water or water becomes your food. So every time you feel hungry, you just drink it. Then you get used to it. Or you can gradually reduce by 115. So we do two types of fast. And then you reduce by till the new moon. Now, when you reduce till the new moon by 115, you have gone through a cycle where you have actually come very close to ketosis. We design a diet where you are reducing your dinner the first week. So literally 15 days you don't have dinner. So you have the chia water in the morning, and you gradually reduce the lunch the next week. And by the time you are reaching the middle of it, you are actually reaching that point of ketosis. Now, the second half you take mostly soup. Okay, soups. Because what is ketosis? It's just protein and fat. Basically fat is good fat, like the avocado is good fat. So the second half we take from the book, like all our recipes are from this book, and you reduce, right? You eat reduced portions and you get used to it. Then gradually you increase the quantity, but I tell people it's optional. If you want to stay healthier longer, you control the portions. But at the same time, it's very important to stretch the body. So I teach yoga, and then I realized that mudras work really well. Like I was amazed when I did the Jnana Mudra, just this, we do in the meditation. You
Oh
touch
yeah,
the tips,
we did
you
that
feel
together. Feeling the
yes,
pulse here. Yeah.
yes. And when you do that, it activates, it helps you control. When you are calm, it helps you control better. So I do, when I teach a fast, we do this. Our book has, in the end of the book, we have the 3-week fast, which you can do on your own also, or you can join our program where we guide you. The only thing about joining personally, we just inspire you, encourage you, give you more detailed
Yeah,
guidelines
you
like
can
that.
call and be like, I can't do this anymore. And no, continue. It's okay. You'll be fine. And tomorrow.
No, many people actually, what happens is because after 3-4 days, sometimes because of the air imbalance, it can cause anxiety, this and that. But when you understand this is like a normal phenomenon, I just have to pass through this. And when you hear and you feel comfort, you're like, okay, I'm fine. So people
Or doing the
continue the fast.
Surya Namaskar, like a guided Surya Namaskar, I felt so much
Yeah,
better afterward because the
yeah,
airs had been balanced and there was no
yeah.
headache. I got a headache at that some point as well.
Most people complain of headache just because of that glucose thing. Now, what I found was when you do the Surya Namaskar and the exercises, uh, it goes fine. So the best thing, like chia lemonades, we have in our book. We have for fasting a list of necessary ingredients. Fruits, we do smoothies, right? And that's all you have: chia water and hot teas, and then you can have soups. So the more you reduce solid eating, that's when you are actually inducing your body into a lower glucose levels and ketosis. Now, there's one thing which I forgot, which I remembered now. Krishnamacharya says fasting 1 month, one week, 2 weeks, that's good, that's okay, that's vrata. But the real vrata is to control your regular diet. Not to make sure that you are consistent, that you like. I am amazed, there is one client, he's a CEO of a company, and he books me every day. So every day I teach him a class, one-on-one class. He's a big CEO, and his health is very important. He had so many issues when he joined, like 6-7 months back, cholesterol, this, that. And I am amazed, within a month he followed the fasting plan. 1 month he got into a diet, and now he has just one good lunch done, and he's maintained that for 5 months. Then I told him, now I need to follow you.
Mhm.
Because I sometimes have milk at dinner, just milk. But it was amazing that he cut out even the morning thing. But his health, his weight went down, 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 down. But after some time, you know his wife was complaining, I hope you don't disappear, because he was losing a lot of weight. And
Yeah.
wives want husband to be really. And but after some time he plateaued out. He looks now the same for some time, and his stomach has become flat. Now she is very happy, but for one point she got scared. So actually, according to Ayurveda, if you are on a healthy diet, losing weight is not a Ayurvedic concept. Ayurvedic concept is sama, to bring you to where you should be.
Right.
That is the yogic concept. Some people are by nature huge. Now, how thin can you make them? So, to bring you to where you should be is the concept of Ayurveda and yoga. And that's where you will be healthy. Each one has a karma. Like, I look at some some people are huge, wrestlers, this, that. And what do you tell them? They have so much muscle mass. They have to eat so much, like,
Yeah.
so that's their nature. So everyone has a different nature. So that's why it's always good to consult. But in general, fasting does have Ekadashi fasting. It's not nature. Ekadashi fasting is based on for everyone, right? So it's generally applicable. So generally, fasts are beneficial. And like I said, chia, smoothie, soups. These are the best ingredients.
If you get the book will explain a lot about how to, what to eat during a fast and things like that. Let's look at some other questions here. Okay, interesting spiritual perspective and fasting benefits. There are many natural foods, nuts, eggs that can cause allergic reactions, which can be severe. The coronavirus vaccines contain substance that can cause anaphylaxis, so or scream. The girl peanut allergy was lucky to survive without immediate use of auto-injector EpiPen. That was when you were talking about that, the $28 million thing. Question, any recommendations on Ayurveda books for beginners?
So for beginners, we can. There is the book by Vasant Lad, which is called Ayurveda: The Science of Self Healing. That's a good book. And
I think he is. Didn't Prahladananda Swami say that he knows him
I
I
think
think
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the
He's
podcast with
very
Prahladananda
famous.
Maharaj, he was saying, is he really famous? The Ayurvedic
Yeah,
doctor?
he's famous. He's famous. He's very authentic in the sense he just doesn't talk about Ayurveda just like some doctor talking about medicine, right? Like
Right.
when I was in Manipal doing my engineering, between the engineering college and the medical college, there was one shop where there was cigarettes and all these things for all the students used to come there during break time. So all the engineers, all the doctors, they used to come to the same place to smoke. And I was thinking the same thing, these doctors, what are they actually learning if they come here to smoke? Right?
Right.
So Ayurveda also has become kind of like, I know this or this. Vasant Lad is somebody who is not just talking about, this is good for this and this is good for this. He's actually talking the science, how it improves your prana, how it is connected to the demigods. For example, every Ayurvedic medicine, you have to chant the mantra because Krishna says, I am the herb for the medicine to really work. So now, when they introduced the 4-year degree course, they actually killed Ayurveda, the guru disciple, mantra. So anyway, he is somebody who is learned with a proper systematic way. So the point is that if we learn from let me tell you one more thing. Like my studying yoga, I have one a very senior god brother, and we practice together all the time. And I was amazed to find that so many people practice yoga. They get some physical benefit. Some benefit is always there, but they don't get the long-term benefit. The actual benefit of yoga is complete equanimity.
Right.
Now, when I realized that this actually comes from balanced breathing, right? When you breathe in, you breathe into, like he told me, that yogis never breathe with the belly. But because our bellies are big or bloated or weak, you breathe in, you breathe into the belly. But a yogi breathes into the chest, and then always it is slow. So when I applied that during asana, my whole practice changed. So that's where I realized that learning something authentic. So Vasant Lad is that's a good book to start. And by the way, I am also doing. There is a University of Florida professor, and he has a holistic healing course in which Ayurveda is one of the main features, Ayurveda and yoga. So I am teaching the Ayurveda and yoga. I just almost finished the lesson plan and the module. So
Oh,
within a week or two, we'll be live with this Ayurveda course. So I'll share
wow.
on my Facebook, and whoever is interested can learn in the
Let,
systematically.
let's take some questions because there's a number of them. Here's another one. I'm hearing an echo. You,
Oh,
is that? Oh, that's better. Okay. Okay, that's better. Could you ask Prabhuji what Ayurveda says about treatment for viruses? Oh, now we can't hear you now. I think you need to change the audio to the computer. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see cam/mic. There's a button there.
is that okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, what is it? Yeah. So basically, for treatment for viruses. So now basically, if you get your body alkaline, right? So your body has good bacteria, bad bacteria. So good bacteria, we need to feed the good bacteria, healthy bacteria. That will take care of the bad viruses, right? So that is why now today this word is very famous, probiotics. So actually dahi, and to improve, so fasting is one of the ways. Like in my childhood I used to hear, starve the fever, right, and feed the cold. Hmm.
Right.
So you starve the fever, because when you're having fever, these viruses are there. So body raises the temperature to actually kill those viruses. So that's why the body raises the temperature. That's why you get fever. And when you fast, they have nothing to feed on, and they die. So fasting is one of the ways to cleanse. So actually, when you reach the stage of autophagy, the stage that Namras reached in 1 week, you actually cleanse, you actually kill all those bad viruses, you actually kill those bad areas, oxidized portions of your body which need to be removed, and they get automatically removed.
Right.
Now, and the second thing is you can also cleanse. We do salt water cleanse, like one of what we call Shanka Prakshalana. So when you take salt water, we do some asanas. The water goes into your intestine, and the salt water literally cleanses your entire digestive tract, your entire gut. So this is done once in 2 to 3 months, but there is another one called dhoti, not dhoti, dhoti. So
Prabhu, just 1 second. I'm hearing a lot of static from
oh,
I don't know which mic you're using, but it's causing a lot of static. It's not like
static, okay.
yeah, it's static. It's not like when someone is having
Okay, let me try to use. Is this okay now?
oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this what we call, so when you do the salt water cleanse, salt water removes all the lining, of these. See, these bacteria, they feed off acidity and the waste in your stomach and your intestinal region. So when you do the salt water cleanse, it removes all the pitta, kapha. Basically, acidic body feeds these viruses, and it cleanses it out completely. So saltwater cleanse, it's on my website, yoginataraj.com. If you go to yogi cleanse, so there is dhauti and shankar prakshala. On my YouTube channel also, I have a video. Actually, this video, during the coronavirus, I saw some videos where doctors in a particular hospital in Bombay, they did this neti, salt water vomiting dhauti, and none of them got the because it kept their gut clean, none of them got the virus actually. So this periodic cleansing once a week, and doing this dhauti, shankar prakshalan once in 2 to 3 months, and of course our regular diet, like we discussed.
Right.
This is enough, yeah.
Yoginataraj.com, right? I'm just going to scroll that at the bottom here.
Yeah,
So
we have two websites, foodforthesoul.net and yoginataraj.com. But foodforthesoul.net is the main website, yeah.
oh, okay. So let me change that here. What did you say? Food for the soul?
.net.
Okay. Both of them. Okay. Foodforthesoul.net. Okay. Let's look at the other questions. Are we really practicing no intoxication by taking so much sugary products when alcohol is largely a sugar addiction? Very true. Good point. But I mean, it's easy to say. But it's easy to say, Prabhu. But when someone puts ISKCON bullet in front of you, are you going to say no? I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, Prabhu, give me that prasadam. I wanted Krishna's mercy.
The thing is that you should come to a point where I was with I will not say some controversial Maharaj, nice Maharaj, but I don't want to take any names, but
Right.
nice devotee and a couple of other nice devotees. Now, one of the things that I saw in that, this is a better example. One of our better sannyasis, like I come from the Brahmin, Gaud Saraswat Brahmin community from South India. And our sannyasi, the sannyasi from the Gaud Saraswat Brahmin community, I saw once him having lunch. And they had vada, they had what do we call idli and rice and so many things.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was he could eat one bite of each only. And I was a little boy and I was watching this. He was eating one bite, then keeping it aside, eating the next bite, keeping it aside. I'm like, what's this? He said, eating with the detachment.
Oh.
So the thing is that when we fill up, if it is strongly ingrained, just like we follow the regulative principles, we are very clear: no meat eating, nothing, no, not even once, right? We are very clear about it. Now this is beginning principles, so that's why as we advance, so we have, and one of the things that I realized, when we give up and we detach from food, that is the first step to detachment. Because if you see, yukta ahara viharasya, first thing ahara, yukta ahara. Second, atyahara prayasascha, ahara. Why is food?
Mm.
And why is every festival fasting, his appearance day fasting, his this fasting, Lord's appearance day fasting? Nowhere it says, okay, early morning feasting. No, it's all about fasting.
Yeah.
So fasting has a deeper meaning. Now, fasting, along with that, we have to realize that fasting and portion control, it pleases the Lord, because you are fasting also pleases the Lord because you are taking time to go within, right? So when you eat, like now when you eat very heavy, you have to take sleep, your body goes off. So as a devotee becomes very anxious to become focused all the time. If you see Bhishma Dev's teachings, in the teachings of Bhishma Dev, like many people put these, like summary of the teachings. If you want to control sleep, reduce eating.
Mm.
You sleep as per your eating, right? So that's the thing. So if people control their diet, they can actually control so many things. And like I said, when you talk about ISKCON bullet, like we said, if we become aware that the sugar spike, like I said, it's the same hormones as schizophrenia. In the beginning, to get attracted to Krishna consciousness movement, yes, you feed them, eat as much as you want, everything. But after, right, in the beginning, but then realize that, like what Radha Govinda Maharaj said, I have never eaten this. I've been very careful, and I find it really true. So that awareness comes. So when you become aware, you naturally control. So the thing, what I realized was, you should feel that benefit. Like if I eat heavy, I can see my chanting. Like I'm able to sit now in Padmasana, which I could not earlier, for 2 to 2.5 hours in one place to do my chanting. I sit with my back straight. That was my real goal of do all this yoga and everything, is to sit with my back straight and to hear very attentively. Now my back is becoming very straight, and I can see the strength. Now if I eat heavy, I can see the very next day, like the belly, because when you do the lotus pose,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can show you. So when I sit in the, even now I was sitting in the lotus pose, right?
Right.
So I'm sitting all this while in the lotus pose. So if your belly gets like little bigger, you cannot actually do it. But
Yeah.
now sitting with the belly, the stomach wall becomes stronger. Now what it does, apana vayu. Now Krishna explains, like the apana vayu is going downward, prana vayu is going upward. When you sit with back straight, chest up, when you breathe properly, the apana vayu, the downward movement is controlled. Now, by the way, if you eat too heavy, your downward air is active, apana vayu is active, your thoughts also are of that category, because thoughts are carried from the mind to the body by air. When your air is lighter, going upward, so that is why before any mantra we say pranayama even yoga hai, because pranayama, when you are able to control the breathing properly, your thoughts, they are transported from the heart, because thoughts originate because from the mind. And Gopi Parandan Prabhu told me, how big is the mind? As big as the soul, to cover the soul. That's it. Our soul is in that bubble. So the thoughts are carried by prana, by the air. So if your airs are balanced, so what happens when you overeat? These air become unbalanced. So that is why Rupa Goswami uses the word Shadbhir Bhakti Vinashyati. It's not a light word. He says Vinashyati.
Nashiti.
Because all your thoughts are helter-skelter.
Yeah.
So you have to focus. So that's when I realized diet is such an important part of bhakti. It's not only what you eat, the right quantity, the right time, right?
Yeah.
So they say, right, if you want to eat or not to eat, to get married or not to get married, then you should not.
Right. If you don't know, don't. Yeah, I
do-
see. Okay, let's take some more questions here. We're running out of time. So the proportions of the chia lemonade. So what I did was it was like 3 tablespoons of chia's seeds soaked in like a liter, no, in like 2.5 liters of water the night before, and then I would drink that as the day went on and add like fruit and other things. Right?
Yeah, 3 tablespoons of chia in like half to 1 liter of water. And next day you can add.
More water.
Yeah. So what we do in this is, so that remains the same, your chia and a liter of water. So what we add in these is, so you have lemon. So you squeeze one lemon.
Yeah.
You add maple syrup. Maple syrup contains potassium and many different things, very beneficial. So you add maple syrup and you add one fruit, like I add 2 kiwis or a little bit of raspberries or one of these as like a flavor.
Right.
And these fruits, when you grind them and you flavorful, the, the energy, the vitamins that are contained in that, they give you. So we avoid high sugar fruits like mango, although there is a mango, but you have more berries. So berries are good, turmeric, kiwi. So basically you end up making a liter or a liter and a half. So you can soak it in half liter to 1 liter and next day. So you can have it concentrated like or you can add more water and make it like 2 liters, 3 liters and drink
Right.
it a day. But what I prefer is having it concentrated like within a liter. Yeah. So that's how it works.
What's please review the name of the book.
Yes, so this is on our website. You can order foodforthesoul.net. So the book is Food for the Soul, Diet of a Yogi. And the next other book that I have, by the way, is this is on Amazon. So this you cannot order from me. You have to go to Amazon. So Healing Mudras, Yogi Nataraj. If you type it in Amazon, you'll get the link. It's on Amazon Prime. So they sell. So this book, if you join any of our course, we send it to you for free. We give you a digital copy also, but you can order this book separately also.
Yeah, I suggest getting that book is really, really nice. I haven't read the other one. I'd like to get that one also, but the Food for the Soul is really very, very good book regarding the different recipes for the fast. Okay, what about eating dal?
Dal is good. Dal is actually protein. Now there are 2 types of dal. One is the arhar ki dal, what you call. So that is more like it has more strength for the body. But Prabhupada used more of mung dal. So mung dal is more brain. It's like energy for the brain. So mung dal. So all the proteins that we need. So green gram sprouts. Green
Sprout.
ground, akha mung, sprouts. But sprouts, the only thing about sprouts is one should not eat sprouts just raw because many people get acidity or the sprouts become what do you call it? It's a little difficult to digest. So you saute it. So in our book we have prana sprout salad. So you add little veggies and saute it.
That sounds
And
great.
today's
I mean, it's Ekadashi, so I'm fasting. But that sounds nice for tomorrow.
yeah, and so dal, if you have it that way also. So we have 2 days a week. We have sprouts day. So my wife makes fresh sprouts and microgreens, and we add microgreens are amazing. So you add that is good, and dal and beans. So they are all your proteins that you need. You will get there. So dal should be there every day.
Yeah, great. How to overcome sugar cravings? Good question.
So sugar, so sugar cravings basically. One of the things that we have to do is have natural sugar more. Like if you taste these chia drinks, I'm sure Namras can tell you, with the maple syrup, right?
Oh, delicious. I loved it. I can drink some right now.
So when you actually do that, you get something very tasty and very healthy for your gut. You feel good. So then what happens is you avoid where foods where there is added sugar, like sweets and this and that. But maple is the only sugar that I would recommend. It's not really that heavy sugar. It has very low glycemic index, and that is something that you can avoid all other sugars and have. So that's one way. So, and that is the way I also have, uh, because jaggery we don't use so much, but maple, because it's good quality you get in North America, and it's very healthy, it's local, so whatever is local is more healing. So we try to use maple and avoid all other types of sugar. Hmm. That's what we do. And then when you do fast, and one of the things is sugar is not just about sugar, it is about acidity. So the more sugar cravings you have means you have high carbs, high glucose, high sugar. So by gradually reducing the dinner, because sugar, carbs, they rewire the brain for addiction.
Right.
That's what they want you. So that's why everything is sugar and carb, because it's addictive. Now, that is why all the books that are coming out today rewire your brain. So they say rewire your brain is by intense exercise, because what happens is intense exercise is also one way of overcoming sugar cravings, because what happens is intense exercise over a period of time. Now my sugar Surya Namaskar is also a part of that. It turns the body to ketosis.
Wow.
It reduces sugar craving. So that is why intense exercise, people are realizing more and more that is one of the best ways to actually rewire the brain.
Also, understanding the benefits of stopping eating sugar is really cool. Like if you go to YouTube and you put in "I didn't eat sugar for 30 or 40 days and this is what happened." There's tons of those videos, and that can really help you get like inspiration of like, wow, what can really happen to my body when I cut out sugar? So really cool.
Yes.
Haribo Prabhus, I really need a fasting program to give my body an urgent reset. Do you have an online fasting group? We'll need supervision for sure. That's a really good point that I wanted to add. Thank you for bringing that up. That you should do this with supervision. Don't just like start fasting and like you don't know what to do, because you'll go crazy. And also, it might be a little unsafe for some people. So you need to understand. You need someone to kind of mentor you. That's in my own situation. That's why I actually contacted Gaur Nataraj Prabhu and I was like, hey, I want to do a fast. What's your program? So how can people get into your program or whatever the program is?
So you have on our website, we have different programs, and you can also, of course, on Facebook, you can, many people just message me, and my number 702-956-3123. You can WhatsApp or call or text. And once you know, then we can, once you, then I look for what you are actually looking for. Now, for example, if you're talking about diabetes, I saw another message by Mataji. So diabetes, I have a specialized, that's program I specialize in. People come to
this one here are the special rules for diabetics. Yeah.
diabetics. Yeah. So diabetics is, you can actually, fasting is the best thing for diabetics because you have so much glucose, right? But you need to fast it out, but you have to strengthen yourself. So it's a long-term program.
Right.
And it has to be under supervision because we do a very systematic assessment, and then sometimes it's not possible, so we give you what you're actually going through, what you need. So diabetes.
And it's also like this is your means of livelihood as well. It's not like you have a separate job or like you're like an IT person or you're like this is what you do. So this is what you get clients from, giving them advice and services for and mentoring for this kind of thing, right? Just want to make it clear.
Our revenues went up during the lockdown because everyone joined online fasting.
Of course.
And that's why we are now planning to do like self course. Now every course we help you individually, but we are also slowly trying to bring up courses where you can just sign up and you can just do it by yourself. Also, so the Chandrayana fast, the diabetics, the Chandrayana fast is one of the best programs, and it reduces your cravings and everything. And since in modern medicine there is no cure for diabetes, but Ayurveda yoga there is, but it has it takes some effort, because this is something which we have cultivated over 10 to 15 years,
Right.
Yeah, you
We
can
were,
definitely,
yeah,
you
you
can
can.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna get the book. So one of the books is on Amazon, and one of the books you can get directly from you from the website. Is that right?
Yes, this book is from our website, foodforthesoul.net. If you go to our website, foodforthesoul.net, if you go to book, you can order it.
Okay.
And the other one, like
Amazon.
yes, Yogi Nataraj, yeah. And Amazon has good printing. And this book is in Kindle edition.
Oh, it is in Kindle. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And if you sign up for programs, we do give you the PDF edition also for this. Yeah.
Right. Can you share the moon mantra, please?
Very simple. I think Namra should be knowing this.
Oh gosh, I forgot it because I haven't done it.
Om Som Somaya Namaha.
Oh yeah, Om Som Somaya Namah. And you say it about 10 times or something, you said?
11 times, yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, here's a cool question. Can we introduce fasting to young children? From what age could this be beneficial for their health? Very good question.
Very much. Actually, what happens is that children, if they get used to Ekadashi fasting, full moon fasting, it actually helps control their mind. And because and children don't have so much of a problem like the adults, because their fat is different. But when we grow up, our nature of the body changes. So it's very different. But children have better digestion. But the thing is, if you get them to fast Ekadashi or just take fruits on Ekadashi, that's what we do with our kids. We just give them fruits and, try to avoid. In that way, what happens? It builds up a pattern. And sometimes, like we see, most Hindus, they just follow some rituals. They don't even know why. But they do it. So for children, like sometimes when you grow up, you really are reluctant, fasting, this, that, until there is some serious health issue. But if you make it a habit for children, I would say give them plenty of fruits. That's where you can limit it to. And that's a real fast, and they become really, they change their nature. So, and the thing is, you can, by giving them fruits and other things on Ekadashi and fasting days, what happens is, because they are so rich in minerals, vitamins, they get all that. They get all that. So children get more benefit. Mostly, from what I see, children are very addicted today to these donuts and cookies, and all these are refined carbs. They are super high sugars. So, but if you get them to eat fruits, for children, that's like a jackpot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, my kids love. We haven't given my older son, who's 3 now. He doesn't like. We were really careful about giving him any kind of refined sugars and things, and he's like really attached to, like, it's like it makes his day to have a banana. Like, it's like he loves it, or like an apple or like a carrot. Like, and I was like, I wish like I had that kind of from the very beginning, that kind of training, that like I'm not relying on it. When I guess later in life it could change for him, but in the beginning, I think it's a good thing to not introduce that.
Nice to hear. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, my wife is like really, really, really strict about that. Okay, let's see some other questions here. Okay, do you recommend black or white chia seeds?
I would recommend black. They are much more energetic and absorptive. Yeah.
Okay. Nataraj for ISKCON health minister. Well, Prahlad Swami was removed because of certain views that he had. So I don't know if Nataraj will be wanted on the to be the health minister.
He is anti-paneer.
Right. Okay. What's the best way to increase the sadhana using yoga and Ayurvedic techniques?
Yes.
Do you mean sadhana like chanting and hearing, or yoga sadhana? Anyway, you can answer it whatever way you interpret that question.
Yeah. So now my goal of this, when I read, let me put it this way. When I read Nathamuni's Yoga Rahasya, somehow I had this quest. So when I did astrology, my astrologer, my mother was shocked. In engineering, I started, chanting and this and that. So it took me to an astrologer. He said he will do his engineering, but he will not be an engineer.
So
Wow.
my mom was like, okay, what will you do? He'll do yoga. I was like, okay. so so I did my master's degree in yoga after finishing my engineering. And I had to find a meaning. And then I joined full time. And after that, I wanted to continue my study. And I told my Guru Maharaj, I want to continue my study. So I used to go to my post graduation college in Saffron.
Wow.
I used to go to college in Saffron. And I really got a time. And in that, Nathamuni states that to reach the stage of pure bhakti, and of course they do it in a, their point is what the body, the mind and intellect has to be in the mode of goodness. Now in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, now this is something very important that my realization goes, where Krishna says the mind is the enemy, mind is the friend. Now we fight with so many people, so many fights happen, this guy is my enemy, this guy did this, but Bhagavad Gita says your mind is your enemy. The most important sutras in Yoga Sutra, he says one should surrender unto Ishvara. Samadhi Siddhir, the perfection of Samadhi is by surrender. All these things are there. But he says one should be in the mode of goodness to progress. That was my biggest realization. Now that means what? Your body is alkaline. You're not acidic. Now these are the symptoms, because if I am high in sugar, high in this, now how can I focus, right? So there is a lot of Bhaktivinoda Thakur said health sadhana service. Now health is important. Now Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says when you are born, right? So our mind from many births, we carry impressions, habits, revenge, frustration from all previous births. And anything that happens in this life, it triggers all those previous samskaras. But when we cultivate new habits, right? Sometimes the most difficult thing in astrology, it is said, is to change one's astrological or your birth nature. Now we want a divine nature, right? We want a divine nature. And who is your enemy? Patanjali says your mind. Now we see many devotees, they were drug addicts, they became devotees, but sometimes they fell away and they became drug addicts again. Why? Your old habits come back, right? Many people,
Yeah.
we know, we won't take examples, but many people, they come. Now Patanjali says, when I read this verse, that was an amazing eye-opener. He says, your enemy is your mind, because anything that happens to you in front of you, at the back of you, all your samskaras are there. Your reaction is based on your impressions. By the process of yoga, by the process of healing, you reverse the mind. You reverse this. But he says, be careful, yogi. This samskara is waiting 5x, 50x times. Because once you become slack in your practice, it will attack you 50 times more. I mean, that's a number I'm adding, but he says many times more, he becomes dangerous.
Right.
He says a yogi, he should never become slack. So he says when he has overcome his past samskara, that's the amazing thing. Samskarat bhaved vijaha. I found the meaning at this time when he says you have the same physical body, but when your mind has a whole set of new habits, where you are in complete control of, I'm going to eat this, I don't have a loose tongue, my control over diet is very clear, and I'm completely focused. He says you have a new birth, you have a new mind in the same physical body. That's when I said Yoga Sutras, and when you read Uddhav Gita, all this, see Uddhav Gita, it's all explained very beautifully, devotionally. Now, yoga also, he says the perfection is devotion. But here, the principles are a little more explained, in this Yoga Sutras. So that's where I find Ayurveda is also a science. He explains it as a science of sadhana bhakti. Yoga is also the science of sadhana bhakti. It depends on how we study. And that's why I enrolled for PhD now, because I really want to practice this even deeper to realize, because Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj and my Guru Maharaj tell me the same thing. You should serve devotees by going in depth and creating a new healthy generation of devotees. That's my goal.
That's great. That's fantastic. I feel like we should do a whole nother podcast just with a Q&A because there's some really nice questions coming in, but I actually have to go and I don't have time to take them. But Gaur Nataraj Prabhu, if you could actually answer the last few questions in the when the podcast is over and there's comment section in the video, if you can answer that in line, that would be really, really nice. Just because there's some good questions about how to get sun if you don't have a lot. How do you get vitamin D if you don't have a lot of sun, and something I'm really interested in too, bodybuilding exercises that against Ayurveda. Anyway, we can't get into it now, but great questions, and Prabhu will answer them. I also want to know the answers too. But thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining. And we have to do another episode. I mean, I'm fascinated by everything you're saying, and I'm absorbing all of it. So maybe I'll try to do another fast sometime, and then we can do another podcast, or we can just do a whole Q&A podcast. That would be really fun. So if you like this podcast, please share it. And please subscribe to the YouTube page, to the Facebook page. If you want to get in touch with Gaur Nataraj Prabhu, his contact info is right there, scrolling, yoginataraj.com or foodforthesoul.net. You can get in touch with him there. So please have a great rest of your day. And again, Prabhu, thank you for joining. And if please, keep in touch and please continue to do what you're doing. I really love what you're doing. Try to help devotees with their health, and I think it's really important so we can live longer and we can serve Krishna longer and serve the movement longer. So thank you so much. Prabhu, stay on. I'm going to just turn the live off. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.